What's up, everybody? Welcome to Becoming Superconscious. I am your host, Tommy Sobel, and I'm very excited for this episode that is all about peptides. Peptides are this magical new medical technology that seems to be the next longevity biohacking wonder pill. And I don't know much about peptides. I've been very curious about it. I love supplements and nutraceuticals, and it's kind of like my hobby, but I still to date just have not entered the peptide realm. And I'm going to be injecting peptides for the first time live in this episode. And I'm doing all this with the support of my friend here, Awais Spall, who is a functional medicine practitioner, and he has been in the deep end in the early days of peptides. Awais is very special because he has been in the peptide world for over 15 years. Before anybody knew what peptides were, he has been on the ground floor. He's a really outstanding guy in general and just an expert on all this stuff. I actually went to a party recently and hung out with Awais, and we were talking and catching up, and Awais was like, listen, man, look around at this party. Pretty much everybody here is on my peptides. And I was like, I got to get on this. I got to know what these peptides are. I got to talk to you about this. And so here we are. Welcome, Awais, to the podcast.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that moment at that party, I was like, I can't wait any longer. I need to get on board. I feel behind. So let's get into it. Also, I want to make sure that we're clear. So I have joined an IRB study.
Yes.
So the peptides that I'm going to take today are part of a research study, which is what's going to legally allow us to have this conversation and do this.
Absolutely.
Is that right? Okay.
Absolutely. And then secondly, nothing in this conversation is medical advice. People that are listening should know that they need to consult their medical provider, their PCP for any medical decisions that they make. So this is entertainment purposes only for this discussion. Yes.
Let's hope that it is as entertaining as I hope it will be. Cool. So just, super broad strokes here. Just tell us a little bit about your background. You have been really in the deep end of peptides since the beginning. Can you just talk about your experience with it and how did you make this your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey started with my own personal health journey, and I turned 18 and I had all these weird muscle skeletal diagnoses. I started developing these weird pains and cramps. My joints started popping, and I would get these headaches. And I went to the doctors. They sent me to a chiropractor. Chiropractor didn't help much. Then they sent me to pain management, and I was being prescribed opioids at 18, right? I'm starting my life pretty much, right? And it was devastating, and I wanted to figure out if there was another solution. So I just started researching. One of my diagnoses was myofascial pain syndrome. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, regional pain syndrome. They were exploring stiff person syndrome as a diagnosis for me. Just really ridiculous stuff that also seemed like they don't know what's going on, right? Like, to me, stiff person syndrome just sounds like you don't actually understand the mechanism of what's causing this. So it just seems so odd to me. And I'm like, it just seems crazy that you're going to give an 18-year-old opioid prescription. So then I went outside of the system and started just looking for doctors who had other solutions and other ways of doing things. I meet this doctor in Montrose, California, and he
Sounds legit.
Yeah. And he starts treating me more or less for free. Dude was very empathetic to my situation. I would not have been able to afford working with him. And he did a lot of regenerative modalities on me. Obviously, those were early days, right? 2010, 2011. Then, I was like, look, I'm making some improvement, but I'm like getting kind of depressed because it's just not really moving the needle in terms of pain management for me. So then he says, I'm going to give you the insert NBA player's name, treatment. I obviously can't name which
You can't
NBA.
say which NBA player
Yes, yes,
legally, but
yes,
fill in the gaps. Okay, got
absolutely,
it.
exactly.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I want fill in the gap NBA player's name treatment. And this treatment involved peptides. It involved growth hormone peptides. It involved BPC 157. And I was like, what the heck is this stuff? This just sounds crazy. Like when he explained it to me. So he literally goes over to his printer, prints out some studies on peptides. And I was like, this is insane. We have this technology. He's like, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be the future of medicine, of just health in general. Yeah, that moment just really changed a lot for me. And they were profoundly helpful for my
Yeah, what
pain.
happened when you started taking them, or what did you take?
So he gave me he gave me some cerebrelin, which is a growth hormone peptide, and then he gave me BPC 157, which is a reparative peptide, one of the most classic, the Wolverine peptide, right?
So BPC 157.
Yes, BPC
That's considered the
157.
Wolverine peptide. Tell me about
Yes,
that.
yes, absolutely. That's not Elon Musk's kid's name, by the way. That's the peptide.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It is a gastric pentacopeptide found in the gut, in the GI tract, and it's powerfully reparative. It helps you recover faster from working out. It helps heal injuries. It works on a series of pathways. Some of the pathways are stem cell proliferative, not necessarily a stem cell therapy, but it's helping migrate healing compounds and white blood cells to certain sites in the body. Even if you do it systemically, it's going to have an effect on those local areas. And then it's also improving nitric oxide, blood circulation. And so that's the science, right? Then it's like, well, how does it feel? It feels amazing. A lot of people
Mm,
that have had injuries, they're like, holy smokes, this is recovering me twice as fast.
wow.
Something like that, right? I fractured my wrist in Thailand. The moment I came home and it did them directly into my wrist and some systemically, it was really profound.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's back up for a second because I think we got into the details. So we know a little bit about your background. You had this powerful experience
Hmm. Hmm.
with this thing called peptides that maybe you hadn't heard of, but you knew it was going to be the future. And then you had an incredible recovery thanks to it.
Yes.
What are peptides? Like
Yeah.
what are they?
So peptides are these small amino acid chains that are signaling molecules for the body. So you have thousands of peptides existing in your body right now, doing all kinds of incredible things. You have some in the thymus gland, which is the immune gland of the body, and the body is making thymic peptides that are supporting your immune system and also reparative functions as well. You have neuropeptides in your brain, you have peptides in your gut, you have peptides in your blood vessels, and everywhere doing these incredible things. So when we take them exogenously, meaning like coming from outside of you, they're made synthetically, and we can sort of target some of those categories like immune system, gut healing, brain function. So they're becoming popular because they can do so many incredible things, and they're biologic agents, meaning that they exist in your body. They have a very high safety profile.
Hmm. Okay, cool. So let's get a little more specific. If somebody were to just know the basics about exogenous peptides, is there like the go-to one? Is there the one that like everybody starts with? Is that because I know you know a little bit about my medical history and
Yes.
you've provided me with what my protocol stack is going to look like. Is
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
can you remind me what you're prescribing or you're not prescribing,
No.
but what you're
Yeah.
suggesting that I take? And then is that kind of what everybody should start with or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So these were, just to be clear, this is all done in a strict context, in this IRB context.
Yes.
And also there's a medical director that's licensed and everything on board for that process. Just so we're super clear, and just a secondary reminder, medical
Absolutely.
disclaimer, this is just for entertainment purposes only, this discussion. But the ones that were suggested for you that are helpful, BPC 157 and TB 500, Those are the most commonly used peptides. Those are the most reparative peptides. They work on multiple axes, so people know them as the repair peptide, but they actually do a lot for the body. They support the immune system as well. So if you look at that, the second one, it's thymosin beta 4 or
TB 500?
yes,
Okay.
or TB500, right? So they can go by either or name. Like I said, the thymic gland is the immune gland. So it kind of like helps you think that, well, immune functions in the body are also very reparative, right? A lot of these axes in the body, they overlap significantly, so some people even use the term immunometabolism, the relationship the immune system has on your metabolic function. This systems approach can be helpful in thinking about peptides and their pathways. So it's just important to know because a lot of bodybuilders have been taking TB500 for a long time, much longer than we've been familiar with it in like the mainstream or conventional and even functional health systems. At the time when this doctor was providing me peptides, TB500 was very popular at that time on like bodybuilding forums. Bodybuilders would be like, I've injured my shoulder or my pec, and I'm going to do a high dose of TB500 and
Wow.
get this powerful repair. So it's really healing for like fibrous tissue.
So peptides have been around for a while, but they're not steroids, right? Or
No.
how is that different?
Yeah. So steroids, like anabolic
I'm
steroids.
asking, sorry to interrupt, but I'm asking just because I feel like for me and probably for most people,
Yeah.
the idea of injecting something to improve the body was kind of siloed into the weightlifter category for a really long
Totally.
time. And I think
Yeah.
probably for most people that are listening to this, I still am like, wait, do I really need to inject something into my body? Like it feels a little weird. Like a little, is this do I really like, is this too serious?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I just want to clarify, like, how is this different than that kind of steroidal background that we know has like negative consequences on people? How is this different than that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good question, because these things do get lumped into, the same categories, unfortunately, even though they're extraordinarily different. But anabolic steroids will work on androgenic pathways in the body, usually that are helping you gain muscle, or they'll do high doses of growth hormone, which is not technically a steroid, right? But very high doses to get something called like hyperplasia, which is the multiplication of muscle cells, right? So they're trying to increase hypertrophy, the size of the muscle cells, hyperplasia, the number of muscle cells you have, and they're trying to look as big and jacked as possible. And there sometimes are feedback loops in those mechanisms of action. Feedback loop is a really important concept. If your doctor gave you testosterone, right?
They have.
Yeah, they
I've
have.
been
Okay.
prescribed testosterone by my functional doctor. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, as you were probably informed, testosterone has a negative feedback loop. Once you start taking it, it's impacting your body's natural production of testosterone because the body's like,
They
oh,
did
we
not
already
say
have this.
that, but I'm
Okay.
glad I've heard that elsewhere. I'm glad you're
Yes.
reminding me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So okay, continue. Yeah.
Yes. So those are called feedback loops, and anabolic steroids, like testosterone, will often disrupt feedback loops along with various other mechanisms in the body. They're also very often not biologic, and they will have negative hepatic contraindications, meaning just liver toxicity, things like that. Yeah.
So is TRT or is testosterone, would you lump that into the androgynous steroidal category as well? Or are you just using that as another example of a negative feedback loop?
I was using that as an
Okay.
example of a feedback
Okay.
loop. Yes, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, would not be in that anabolic steroid bundle, even though it's used anabolically.
Cool. So when it comes to peptides specifically, then how are those better? Or how do those not have those same consequences?
Because they exist in your body already, you already have BPC 157 in your body, in your gastric juices, doing some amazing stuff, right? You already have these thymic peptides existing in your body, doing this functioning and this signaling. So in the time that we've been researching peptides, we have not found negative feedback loops. Of course, I think things should be done reasonably, right? You shouldn't inject BPC 157 every day for 2 years straight, right? I think nature follows pulsing cycles where we take a break and we pause. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's the main kind of thing, is understanding that they are biologics.
Okay, cool. Can we talk more about the benefits? Like how
Yes.
I know we can't make scientific claims or medical claims here, but
Mhm.
what are you able to say about what you've seen, maybe anecdotally?
Man, there's so many benefits for depending on which peptides you're talking about. But for me, BPC 157 was life giving. It was the difference between being on painkillers and being able to function, right? Feeling that like looseness and just comfort in my fascia and my own body, right? So that's used the most for good reason. It's extremely, extremely anti inflammatory for the body. And then there's an immune peptide called thymosin alpha 1, TA1. That's incredible for helping to heal the immune system and helping to sort of modulate the immune system, because we have different segments of the immune system: Th1, Th2, Th17. And what happens in autoimmune diseases or even certain viral illnesses is that seesaw just goes way out of balance. And then, we want to do things to try to modulate that and put that back into balance. And it's actually not that easy to do with supplements and other things.
Yeah.
And we can certainly, we can modulate, but if somebody has a serious viral illness or an autoimmune disease, we need better tools. And TA1 is an incredible, incredible tool. It's almost one of those things that in my own experience, I was like, is this actually working that effectively? Like how is this even possible? Right?
Wow. Like it worked too well. You're like,
Exactly.
there's gotta be it's
Some
too good to be true.
It's too good to be true. There's got to be some
Really.
side effects or something. And then that's where I really started exploring the science and looking at like, well, what's happening? Why are there no side effects, right? Because we're working with the present conditions and we're not sort of borrowing from the future. I know that sounds like a kind of a weird analogy, but it's as good as I could make an analogy to summarize the complex science. Like caffeine, some would argue, is borrowing from the future,
Great
right?
example.
You
Yeah.
take Advil for pain, right?
Mm.
You take 600 milligrams of ibuprofen, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, right? And you are borrowing from tomorrow because that COX-2 pathway is going to damage the gut lining, right? So it's anti-inflammatory today, it's inflammatory tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So when I've explored the mechanisms of a lot of these peptides, they're kind of just improving your vital system today. And it kind of works with my philosophy of the human body, which is we're nearly vital. Our body wants to be vital. We just need to give it the tools and support to get there.
Wow. How do people discover new peptides? Is it that we know what all the peptides exist in the body and then it's just a process of figuring out how to synthetically develop them cheaply? Or is it like, oh wow, like the guy that invented stevia was using it as like a, gear lubrication and then he
Right.
tasted it and he's like, whoa, let's
Mm.
put this in food. Like is it kind of more trial and error and just divine intervention of like discovering each of these powerful peptides, or yeah, how do they get found?
So, a little history lesson here. We discovered the sequence under Dr. Kavinson. So, Dr. Kavinson was a Russian scientist and doctor, and he was sort of commissioned by the government to find these hyper reparative kind of compounds, right?
The Russian government.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And
Like for
was
military purpose, I'm imagining they're like super soldiers. Like we need people that can repair quickly and like don't need sleep and can live forever. Like doctor, what can you do? Is it
adaptogenic compounds like rhodiola, ginseng.
reishi? Yeah.
Yes, they were also, that concept was also discovered by Russian researchers. I get the peptide and the adaptogens mixed up. One was to help cosmonauts coming back from space heal and optimize their
Wow.
bodies coming back to land. And the other one was for the military to kind of like help soldiers coming back from war, like recovery tools,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Rumor has it Caventon was given a blank check by the government to do whatever he can to discover compounds and things, and he came upon peptides and he did a lot of the sequencing. So that's why some people refer to some classes of peptides as the Caventon peptides. We reference Caventon's like research a lot.
Well, that's cool. And how long ago was that? Was that like in the 50s or?
It's like 40, 50 years ago.
Just makes me wonder, like, if that's what they did 50 years ago, like, what, what are the Russian doctors, what are like the military doctors focused on now? You know, because here we are 40, 50 years later, and it's becoming popular. And it's still, I think, very burgeoning, very in biohacking groups. It's like early Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like there's still this very early adopter thing, but it's been 40, 50 years. It just makes me so curious what they've got coming 40, 50 years from now. But
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And yeah, and don't quote me on the exact number. It could be, I know it's within that range.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so what other peptides are super common? Because you mentioned immune boosting, gut health,
Yeah,
brain health, metabolic health. Those seem like the four main categories that you've
yeah.
mentioned so far. Can
Hmm.
you maybe just for the listeners that are curious, that are writing this down, like to sound smart in their next conversation about peptides, we've got BPC 157, which is the Wolverine repair, recovery
Hmm.
peptide. Then you've got the TB 500, which is also repair. Now we've talked about the thymosin alpha 1, which is the immune healing and immune modulating. What
Hmm.
are some of the other most popular, like main ones, main
Hmm.
flavors that are, you could mention?
The most lucrative class is the GLPs. So your semi-glutides, the patented drug versions, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and all the new little patented Zepbound, right? Those are GLP peptides, right? And
Okay. What are those?
they're metabolic peptides. So GLP is a peptide that's released in the gut after you eat food, and it sort of slows down gastric emptying, it regulates appetite, it helps to modulate insulin secretions, and when people take that, they will often notice, appetite reduction and weight loss. So semaglutide was like the first class of the GLPs, and we've kind of since evolved to new classes. Like we have tirzepatide and then we have retatrutide. So tirzepatide is a GLP plus GIP. So it's kind of optimizing energy expenditure along with the insulin kind of modulation pathways. And now the one that's becoming really popular is retatrutide, and that is GLP, GIP, and glucagon. So we call it the triple agonist. People are noticing is it's very metabolically activating. They're getting the weight loss, and it's helping to preserve muscle a little bit more as well. And it supports all of these
I just got excited to take it. Is that the one I'm taking
Yep,
today?
yep, yep. Yeah, that's one of the ones you're taking. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. And love a good weight loss without the muscle loss, because I'm
Hmm.
telling you, I am a hard gainer and it's been very difficult for me to increase muscle
Hmm. Hmm.
without gaining fat. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
this is what I've been looking for. All the diets and fads and liver
Hmm.
cleanses, all the stuff I've tried. I just needed to inject myself with retatrutide. Who knew?
Absolutely. And then what I'll tell you in my clinical experiences, retatrutide is very anti-inflammatory as a
Mm.
microdose. So a lot of people are now switching to microdosing GLPs. And as sort of functional medicine practitioners, what we find is if we do all the work, right, we help clean up your gut, we help optimize your liver, we need a lot less of these compounds to get to the same end
Mm.
goal because the body's a more clear channel. It's perhaps a little bit more sensitive in that environment.
Mm.
And we can take really low doses and still get to that positive outcome. And some people are finding that it helps them with mental performance because there's some like dopamine regulating properties that they have. Some people find that just the anti inflammatory benefits are so profound for them. And where I think clinicians have just been so shocked by the success is we try so many different things to help people get to their goals, right? Like I work with a lot of people that have dealt with mold toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
I help them detox and optimize and clean up the body and all of those things, right? Like I follow, not to get into a conversation around mold, but
Yeah, yeah.
I use a lot of different protocols, and I've done trainings and things like Shoemaker and some of these other Dr. Neil Nathan, some of these other protocols. And very often, even when someone is kind of post mold and their function is mostly back, sometimes their metabolism took a really big hit during their years of chronic illness. And it just takes a long time to re-regulate.
Mm.
So taking some retatrutide, tirzepatide, semaglutide, right? Taking some of the GLPs just helps them regulate. And it's just really incredible.
Hmm. Which ones do you take?
Oh man. So I mean I cycle them for fun, and obviously I pulse off of
Mm-hmm.
peptides. I've done so many. I definitely have long periods where I don't take any peptides.
Like
I
months or years, or what's a long
sometimes
time?
sometimes months. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
months. Because sometimes as biohackers, I don't even like that term,
Yeah,
but we can go a little crazy with it and just
yeah.
feel a little obsessed, and then it's like, well, you're telling your body, hey, you're not good enough. You always need things. But right now I am kind of back on, and I'm having fun with it. So I take BPC, TB500, GHKCU.
What's that one?
That is the copper peptide. That's also very, very, very anti-inflammatory. Some people call it the beauty peptide or the glow peptide because it can be used topically. It's good for hair growth.
Mm.
It's good for collagen healing. It's good for preserving collagen. It's good for scar tissue. It can be used in so many different ways. So
Wow,
I kind of make my own little concoction, and I use it on my face a lot. And
wow.
it's part of my skincare. I've definitely done some on my hair as well.
Yeah, your hair
And
is just amazing, glowing.
thank you, man. Thank you. I've hit my hair with some regenerative protocols for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so those are three, and then I'll cycle some brain peptides like C-Link and C-Max and
C-Link,
C-Link, Selank.
Selank,
Yeah,
C-Link.
yeah.
And what was the other one?
C-Max, Semax.
Okay.
Like
Those are
I'm in the
brain ones.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the peptide spelling bee.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it needs it. Like, why are all these names so like just robotic? They're all just like a bunch of. It's like naming stars. It's
Right,
like
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
SV793. It's like, how are
Hmm.
you supposed to remember that? Well, yeah.
Hmm.
Why are the names so just random? Is it just doctor, like just medical? They're not marketed very. It's not made by conventional marketers. That's for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, to be honest, I don't know. I know Cavinson named a lot of them, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Very medically forward.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not for the public seeming. I'm gonna do my first peptide shortly.
Yeah.
Can you remind me which one you've recommended that I take? And am I gonna feel it? Like it sounds like you feel something. Am I gonna like feel the difference immediately, or what should I expect?
Some people will feel something. Some people will feel like, wait a second, I have a little bit more energy. Or I've had some people tell me my fascia feels more open. It's like, well, how do you know what your fascia feels like? It's hard to explain, but
Yeah. Like
we're,
hydrated or loose
yeah,
or something?
exactly. The muscles just feel a little bit hydrated, more loose. Or some people are like, hey, I feel like my brain is kind of coming back online.
Wow.
During my own mold journey in 2017, I took BPC, and it was just profound for me in
Mm.
terms of energy, physically, just took away my pain. And it was, so I noticed it every single time I took it, like
Wow.
immediately. But then some people are a little bit less sensitive, and there's so many reasons for that. And they won't really actively notice something, but after a week, they'll be like, wait a second, I kind of feel that I think things are improving.
Hmm. I think we kind of talked about this when we were preparing for this episode, but I have such an intense experience when I do NAD plus strips. I know
Yeah.
that's not a peptide. NAD is kind of a seemingly similar chemical that's really popular in the longevity space because it really protects the mitochondria supposedly
Yeah.
and is extremely anti-aging and is kind of like a youth, all the celebrities are doing it. But when I do that, not even like a high dose, I think 250 milligrams when you can do like 500 or 1,000 full gram,
Mm-hmm.
I get such an intense, I get like a panic attack almost. It's like my breathing, it's like I feel it in my stomach or my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a heat, like it feels like I'm having an allergic reaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mentioning that only because that's maybe the closest thing that I've done to
Yeah.
this.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm wondering, does that indicate anything about what my experience with this might be, or is it completely different?
That's a good question because NAD is so popular that a lot of people, I was at a party and there was someone doing NAD injections at the party,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was like you go to the bar and you get shots, and the
Yeah.
shots are NAD shots.
Right.
So
It was B12 for a couple years, and now it's
exactly.
NAD plus.
Now it's NAD, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the pathways are so different. Why that creates sort of that flush reaction. Some of the hypotheses are that you get that NAD into your blood. It's just a detox reaction of the NAD going into the cell. So that's why there's a lot of precursors that are popular, like nicotinamide riboside, that you can also do as an IV.
Is that NMR?
No. NR is True Niagen is a company that does
Okay.
NR. And that is a precursor, and then you boost NAD without that reaction. Some people feel that that reaction is important to happen. There's a lot of, I think I mentioned this, there's a lot of rehab clinics that are using NAD 5 days in a row, and they find that the flush is really important because it's pushing a lot of things out of their system. It's really good for the
Like
brain.
the flush that I felt. That's called the flush?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's common.
That's very common.
Okay.
The range kind of differs from person to person, how much people feel it. But no, peptides, there are some peptides, there's so many, right? But there are some that can have a little bit of a flush type of reaction, or they can activate certain processes in the body and you can feel that activation. But no, for the most part, they're not comparable in that type of an effect.
Cool. Can you remind me and us what it is about my medical history that made you recommend what I'm now or going to take?
Yes. So this is awesome. I have consent to talk about your health history.
You have consent to talk about my health history.
That's awesome. Okay, great. Just reviewing your medical chart when we did like a little consult, you had a history of some systemic inflammation that your body had gone through, sort of a SIRS type of a picture. SIRS refers to chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and mold illness is kind of in that SIRS category. Dr. Shoemaker is the one who pioneered the work around SIRS. And some of your blood chemistry showed me a little bit of a SIRSy type of a thing, almost bordering on autoimmune, but not quite autoimmune. Not to get all Ayurvedic, just even through our discussion and just what you had gone through, some of those things leave behind a sticky kind of residue and they can slow the body down, the brain down. And then sometimes those things can have a metabolic impact as well, where metabolism just slows down. And that's almost like an immune response. And the body starts excessively producing lipids. So people will have high ApoB, have high LDL, HDL, they'll have
Yeah,
high.
that's what I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the high kind of bad heart cholesterols.
Exactly.
Okay.
The VLDLs, the ApoA, the little A's, all those like functional cardiovascular panels that we're doing.
And then also the difficulty like losing belly fat for the first time in my life.
Yes.
That was,
yes.
I think, the primary thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That and the itchy butt syndrome that I told you about.
I didn't know if I could bring that up, but yes. So,
Yes.
so a lot of those things are, from that mold. And then even as you heal from some of those things, it's like that stickiness is still there. What you are potentially going to be taking, they're going to be helpful for that, right? So there's three main ones that were kind of based on these things that can be helpful as a protocol. Retatrutide, which is the GLP,
The triple GLP.
Exactly.
Triple
yes. Agonist.
GLP, GIP, and glucagon 1. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is going to support the metabolism, and that can be very corrective for those lipid pathways.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so
And
excited.
we actually don't really even understand mechanistically why that's happening. The really cool thing about peptides is that our understanding evolves. We have like this neural network of clinicians, and 2 years ago, microdosing GLPs was just coming out and people were like, "What? Why would you microdose them?" And now it's like becoming status quo
Mm.
among clinicians. Is like, it's actually, if we're doing a good job with everything else, that will correct a lot of pathways.
Mm.
The BPC TB500, just as an anti-inflammatory, you need that deeper anti-inflammatory kind of support. And I actually like starting with those for a week to 2 weeks, just like tone down systemic inflammation. And then this mitochondrial repair peptide called SS31 could be getting a lot more love than it does, because it is also profoundly anti-inflammatory. But as people might know, your cells have mitochondria. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells that help make energy, right? So we have now started to understand how, for a lot of chronic health challenges, mitochondrial dysfunction, meaning low production of mitochondria, is a key component of their health outcomes and a part of that diagnostic picture. And there's actually really cool tests now that we can test mitochondrial capacity, right? And mitochondria is a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down, because it gets really interesting and exciting with how it relates to light and everything like that. But going back to SS31, SS31 is mitochondrially reparative, and people can have higher energy levels. It can also support the brain as well and be anti-inflammatory for the brain, so neuro anti-inflammatory. Some people will feel a really great effect when that's combined with BPC and TB500.
So the three that I bought are retatrutide,
Uh-huh.
TB500, and SS31.
Yes.
Cool.
So, well, it's the BPC is blended in the vial with TB500, so it's BPC TB500,
Oh, got it.
retatrutide. So there's 4 peptides.
Plus the BPC 157. I see. So those go together.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. And which one am I taking today first? Because you only take one to start, right?
Yeah, that's what was recommended for you, was to start with just one, just to, it's just like with everything, we want to titrate, Americans, I'm American too, right? Like, we love taking a lot of stuff, and we're like, let's go full throttle, let's go everything, When I work with people, they're like, okay, great, I want everything. And I'm like, we're going to go slow. We want to, like, why? I just want to start now. I'm like, because the body responds well to titration, slow increases of things, right? And then you also build a little bit of an intuition. Hey, I can really feel this. Oh, I'm feeling so much better. Okay, now I'm doing this. Okay, you can kind of like have an experience with things.
Yeah,
like that.
kind of what you're getting feedback on that specific thing, as opposed to just it being muddled and unscientific, where you're like, okay, I just changed 10 things. I don't know which of those 10 things had an effect. So you're not really learning as much.
Exactly, exactly. And I think intuition is just a lost art. We're not in touch with our bodies anymore, and that's another reason.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I feel like, especially with the AI revolution that we're in right now, like looking at how AI is just like a Nobel Prize winner of every single field at your fingertips and like soon in your eyeballs. I feel like the only thing that separates us is that intuition. And so even though we have, I think, lost that temporarily, I'm hoping, and I think what I'm pursuing is helping people to realize that that's the one thing that separates us from the AI that they will never be able to take from us. And I love that you're using intuition in your practice as well. I mean, I think it's probably pretty unique, honestly. Very special. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think it's my friends that are in health tech will say that, well, always your clinical intuition eventually will be overtaken by ChatGPT, GPT-7, right? I don't know how that's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and if that happens, great. That's progress for humanity. I'll just make sure I have a little bit of the IP and a percentage, and
But I think ultimately, like, data is always going to be limited.
Yeah.
Data should always support the felt experience, like there's an infinite, there are things that are uncalculable, that
Yeah.
are unreadable, that are beyond science, that are happening, that no matter how much data has, AI will never be able to take data that we can't even capture. So I'm not worried about
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And it's also like we lose that something everybody should have access to. And it's like, well, let's just get the newest wearable, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna stack my Aura ring with a Whoop band, right? Check HRV in two different ways. I saw a guy at the gym, he had an Aura ring, a Whoop band, and a Polar around his chest. So he was checking HRV with three different devices and then like just averaging it out,
Wow.
right?
It's like the three-way GLP, but all the HRV
Exactly. Yeah,
devices.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, well, you lose that trust. So I think like wear your Aura rings, great. Get that data. But also, let's not forget that we have the capacity to have introspection.
Yes, your own knowing. Yeah, absolutely. I want to take a moment here because part of why I started this podcast was to share things that I love. And one of those things is New Brew. New Brew is my number one favorite drink. And I don't know if you know this, but I don't drink alcohol. I stopped drinking over 7 years ago. And for a while, I was seeking something to do in social scenarios where you're supposed to drink when all you're really going to do is talk to people. And so this became my go-to social drink. I love it because it has both kava and kratom. Kava is a root that has been used for centuries in the South Pacific. It gives you feelings of connection with others. And then kratom, that's an East Asian leaf that gives you feelings of euphoria. It boosts your mood and it's kind of stimulating. And so both of those together create this really powerful elixir that doesn't, for me, have the after effects of drinking. It also releases some background anxiety that I feel like sometimes I have in social situations. I just feel engaged, alert, attentive, feel good. And so it's just kind of my go-to drink. And the best part about it is I now have established a relationship with the company because I talk about it all the time. And so they gave me a code. They gave me the code Tommy, and you can use that for 25% off all your purchases on their website. Go ahead and check it out. Just know that you do want to drink responsibly because they do have some habit forming properties. So be responsible, don't overdo it, and hope you enjoy New Brew. All right, cool. So what do I need to know to do this? Like, can you walk me through
Yeah,
it? How does this work?
absolutely.
Can't see it, but we've got all these vials here that.
Yes. So the way that you, by the medical director, are asked to inject these is this is the BPC TB500. I
Okay.
want you to take that cap off.
BPC TB500. Am I doing it right now or were you
Yes,
showing me
yeah.
first?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We're getting into it.
Does the blue thing come off or
No,
just the
nope,
white
just
thing?
that little plastic
Okay.
cap.
All
There you
right.
go.
Got it.
You got it. Now you're going to take an alcohol swab. I'm going to open this guy up for you. And you are going to dap the top of it.
Okay. Alcohol swab. Tapping the top of it.
So the next step I am going to do just for convenience sake, and this is we're adding air to the vial because there's no air in the vial right now. There's negative pressure in
This
there.
vial. Okay.
Yes. As you inject air into it, it's going to dance a little bit. You saw that little dancing?
Yeah.
So that was just air going into the vial. And I just have this easy way to do it. That's why I didn't
Okay.
want you to do it because
Cool.
this is more efficient this way. And now what you want to do is,
I'm just going to make sure people can see what we're doing here.
yeah.
Okay.
So now I'm going to dap the top of the bacteriostatic water. You're going to
let's
take
use a different one just because that touched the floor. I don't want to.
Oh, it fell on the
risk.
floor? Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at you, man. Little lab tech over here. Okay.
I actually used to do neuroscience research. I used to work in a cancer lab.
I remember you mentioned
and
that.
Yeah,
Okay, wow.
So I did used to have my own like melanoma cells, and I would be
Wow.
like doing PCR tests and pipetting different things in. Yeah, so
Past
I
life
have a little
of
bit of
Tommy
experience. Okay, so
Sobel.
this is water.
Bacteriostatic
Okay.
water, yeah. So now what you want to do is you're just taking out 100 units of the bacteriostatic water. And ideally, you want to use a different syringe than an insulin syringe. And because then you have to pull a little bit, it's a tiny little.
Oh, because there's suction or?
Yeah, because it's just such a tiny syringe.
Oh,
And
I see. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that this is like an injection syringe, whereas the reconstitution syringes are bigger and you can just move faster with them. But it's okay. This is working just fine. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we are going to put this in that vial. I'm
Okay.
gonna have you do that.
Okay. So we're just getting 100 milliliters of this special water
Bacteriostatic water, yeah.
and then going to fill it in the vial of. So I guess what I'm taking is the BPC 157 and TB 500 mixture.
Yes.
So it's the two repair and recovery ones
Exactly.
at once. Okay.
And now you are going to just pop through that middle there. And you don't want to squeeze tilt it to the side a little bit. And now just slowly start pumping that juice in there.
So how like many peptides is this, or how much is in this vial?
There's 5 milligrams of each.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now I take it out.
You take it out, yes. And now I'll cap that. So great, that dissolved very nicely. We don't really want to shake it too much afterwards. Sorry, I'm just being all technical here. Yeah, so it's still dissolving. Sometimes it takes a second to dissolve. There is 5 milligrams of BPC and 5 milligrams of TB 500.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So now, since you put in, this is math that's sometimes very hard for people to do, but since we put in 100 units or 1 ml of bacteriostatic water, there's 100 units, also known as 1 ml or 1 cc. So now, when you draw out 10 units or 0.1 ml, that is going to have 500 micrograms of BPC and 500 micrograms of TB 500. Because it's 1/10 essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that makes
so,
sense.
But most people, it's just easiest to obviously listen to your medical provider's directions, when you get a prescription of these or however, right? Or use a reconstitution calculator online where you can just plug the numbers in and it'll tell you.
Cool. Okay. So now it's fully dissolved.
It's fully dissolved. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fully dissolved. So now what you want to do is you want to take a syringe and now we'll give you a fresh alcohol pad.
It seems like a thicker syringe than the other one. Is that right?
Nope.
Oh, it's the same? Okay.
It's the same size. Yeah.
Okay.
So now what you are going to do is you're going to draw out 10 units.
Okay.
And
so which side is the needle on?
Back off.
Take the back off too?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. And then say how much I'm pulling out again?
10 units.
So just to that?
Yep.
Okay, so we're not taking all of this.
Nope.
This will last.
This will last you depending on how you dose it.
Got it.
Depending on how you're advised to dose it, it can last you a week to 2 weeks.
Okay, got it. So the bacteriostatic water we just added doesn't need to be added right before you take it. It lasts.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
The powder is in its lyophilized version, and then we're kind of activating with the bacteriostatic water.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Flip that guy around.
Like that?
You're just going to need to flip it around to draw.
Oh, like fully upside down?
Yeah.
I see what you mean. It's like
So actually,
suction.
I think what happened is you did not, so take it out, you didn't poke through the center. That's what happened there. You poked on the side there.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So
This is why we're doing it live.
actually, because now that needle, it's fine. I just want you, it's completely okay, but you just kind of I want you to use a fresh needle.
Yeah.
So go ahead and cap that there.
Because I put it in the wrong place.
Yeah,
So now
it's
it's
kinda-
potentially.
It got a little dull there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So make sure you put it through that little circle in the center. Alrighty. That's perfect. Now it should feel easier. There you go. You see that?
Yeah. That makes way more sense. Okay.
Great.
That's
There
about
you
10,
go.
right?
Yep.
That's more than 10. So
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Good. And now, just like you were advised in the belly. Yeah. Subcutaneous. Yeah.
But don't I need to, okay, so I'm going to
You
stand
should
up.
wipe that. Yeah. Wipe that area of your belly.
Where should I do it?
Anywhere's fine. Pinch a little bit of, the fat and just,
You calling me fat?
I know.
That's why I'm taking this, so that I can't pinch any fat, so I can get my six-pack back. Okay, how's that look, Missy? Are we?
Yeah, you're looking good.
All right. Does it have to be at a specific angle, or?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
People usually
Oh,
will
oh,
pinch
Oh, yeah.
the area. Yeah,
Just
go
like
for
that?
it. Uh-huh. Yeah. Now just squeeze. Perfect. There you go.
It
Good.
doesn't bleed?
No?
It's just,
Yeah.
okay.
Good job.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool.
So, yeah. How was that?
Easy. Yeah,
Easy
didn't
peasy.
hurt at all.
Right?
The preparation was the complicated part. We got
Yeah.
different sterile things everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, totally. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
just took your health
To the next level,
to the
baby.
next level. Yeah, exactly. And it's just incredible. What you just took is so anti-inflammatory, right? And it's not borrowing from the future. Yes, it's a little bit more than you popping an ibuprofen, right? It's a little more work. It's just so incredible that these things exist.
Can you remind me of what the recommendation was on how frequently to take my protocol?
Yes. So the BPC TB500, there's a lot of different dosing guidelines, the way people do it. Some are you dose it a little bit higher for shorter periods of time if you have an injury or you need some deeper recovery. But if we're just doing systemic anti-inflammatory, it just depends too. Everybody's body is different. There's a lot of reasons we might make a different physiologic, decision. A clinician might make a different decision. But for the BPC TB500, 500 micrograms of each, 5 days on, 2 days off, for a consistency of a month, 2 months can just be good. Now, protocols are usually like 2 months, 3 months. Some protocols are like 1 week, 4 weeks, right? It's just we want to get to an end point, and there's kind of a reason to do it. My philosophy on these things is let's work towards correcting or making a shift in a pathway in a body instead of like, oh, I'm just going to take a tiny amount of this and just use this forever. It's like, why don't we try to aim to work towards something so then we need less in the future, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what I have been recommended is 5 days on, 2 days off for the
TB500.
TB500 and the BPC 157.
Yes.
And then I also have
SS31.
SS31 and the retatrutide. So
Yes.
can you remind me what my
So-
recommendation was for those?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the retatrutide, the doctor or clinician might go over that with you and explain possibly a different dosing schedule. But what we're finding effective, a lot of clinicians are finding to be very effective, is 500 micrograms, which is a microdose to start, and then kind of maybe going up to 1 milligram, and that's once a week.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about for the SS31?
SS31, it's dosed in very different ways, but some people will dose, they come in usually like 20 milligram vials, so some people will dose 2.5 milligrams, 5 days on, 2 days off is one I've seen. I've seen some people dose higher, like 5 milligrams, 5 days on, 2 days off, or even consistently 7 days on or 14 days on. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Because I'm taking the TB BPC today and we're not going to be dabbling and like trying a bunch of stuff all at once, is it typically like I would do let's say I do 1 month on. Do I do just 1 month of just the BPC TB 500 and then I add the SS31, let's say, or is it kind of one at a time in that way, or?
Yeah, so it's really important to mention that there's no standardized systems or ways that these things are done, right? Like these aren't, pharmaceutical drugs that have those consistent regimens, or like antibiotics where it's like take for exactly this time period at this dose, or combine with this antibiotic and this antibiotic, right? So you're going to get 100 different answers to this question, but this is kind of fun because this is like a little gem of information that's kind of hard to find, and people don't, always often know this because they just take everything at once. But when we support the body's anti-inflammatory pathways with BPC 157 and TB 500, and that can be a good time to really double down on the whole foods anti-inflammatory diet as well, right? And just really work towards an anti-inflammatory lifestyle with sleep, blue light hygiene, EMFs, all the things, right, that we can do to help create that anti-inflammatory environment. Make sure and then do the BPCT 500. Sometimes people will get a lot from in 2 weeks in that. Sometimes people will do that 2 weeks, layer in the SS31, clear 6 weeks like that, and then the body's in that really good state. Then start adding in the GLPs. But it really depends person to person, because for some people it can make a lot of sense to introduce the GLP earlier.
Okay. Okay. So is that just decided all by the individual? Like, is that something that I'm deciding kind of on my own when I want to reintroduce the others, and what my like personal protocol and amounts are going to be? Or is that something that's like kind of advised by a clinician?
It should be advised by a clinician. It should be advised by a doctor, But right now, a lot of peptides are, people are DIYing it, right? I'm not recommending, obviously I recommend people follow their doctor's advice and the medical guidance. There's a reason people have been DIYing this stuff, because like it's incredible. And they're like, wait a second, my doctor doesn't know about them.
Right.
Or and I'm saving a ton of money solving my problems
Right.
this way, instead of, the costs on my body.
Right.
And yeah.
So for the people that are new to this, that like don't want to just experiment on themselves, at least to start, what do you recommend? Do they just need to find like a company like yours, and your company can advise on what the right dosage and frequency is? Is that kind of how can
Yeah,
they do it with the advice of a doctor?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I have doctors I work with in my company, and also I'm happy to refer people out as well. So if people reach out to me, I'm happy to kind of send them to a clinician that's experienced and working with peptides.
So can you remind me what my recommendation was, or do I not have one yet?
So just starting with the BPC,
Okay.
and then layering in the retatrutide and the SS31 at those lower doses. Just kind of
Like a month later, 1 or
Exactly.
2 months later, depending on how I feel,
Exactly.
add the retatrutide.
Yeah.
And then a month or how long after that, add the SS31.
The doctor will provide the guidance based on how you're feeling.
Okay,
and
so it's
just all of
TBD.
it's TBD.
I see.
It's
Okay,
TBD.
that's why it's still kind of like flexible, because it's not just the whole protocol set in stone and I just haven't started it yet. It's that the protocol depends on how I feel over the next few weeks and months with the TBBPC.
Yes, and
Okay.
also they may want to redo your labs as well, right? And then
Yeah.
get some new data inputs to see how are those inflammatory markers doing, and that can guide us as well.
What are the main markers that somebody would want to look at in their labs? Is it like thyroid? Is it like TSH levels?
There's a lot. There's like 100 markers.
Okay.
We say look at.
Okay.
So,
So there's not like a few main ones that at a glance are
for these purposes here, some that lipids can be relevant, real comprehensive functional lipid panel. Obviously, everybody should be doing a CBC and a CMP. Those are the a very, very basic kind of blood test. And then other immune testing can be helpful. C-reactive protein, homocysteine to look at inflammation as well. Just because those are low doesn't mean inflammation is not present either, right? So there's other ways that we can assess inflammation in the body. Then also A1C is important, HbA1c and insulin and fasting blood sugar, right?
Okay.
Because we're trying to, with the retatrutide is trying to influence those pathways.
I see. So yeah, so that all makes sense because you're looking at like the main metabolic labs, you're looking
Yeah.
at the main heart and gut health. What about when it comes to like if somebody is recovering from mold or like brain fog, fatigue? Are there specific labs that you're tracking when you go on peptide protocols?
Yeah, it wouldn't even, that would be based on that condition and not like
Not the
the,
symptom.
not yeah, and not the protocol, that they're on. But for mold, I often look at a lot of immunology, like the classic they're called shoemaker labs, like and we're looking at inflammation in the body. We're looking at the effect the mold had, and then I also will run urinary mycotoxin and then sometimes blood mycotoxin testing as well. So I like to get a really comprehensive picture. I also like to see how has it impacted gut permeability or leaky gut. So I run a blood leaky gut
Oh,
panel.
you can do that? I didn't know
Yeah.
you could do that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So we
awesome.
look at LPS, occludin, zonulin, and other sorts of proteins, and that kind of tells you by looking at what's in the blood, we can kind of see how leaky are those pipes,
Wow.
right? Are there some leaks kind of getting into the bloodstream? There's a lot of research on the gut permeability blood testing, and that was happened during my career, right? And a big emphasis of mine is microbiome and gut health.
I'm super excited. I feel like I learned a lot. Before we wrap this up, I would love to know how can people find you? What's a great way for people to learn more about this? Maybe they want to join an IRB trial, show up at one of those same parties and be one of those people that are cool, that are like on the longevity path with the rest of your friends. How can they do that?
Yeah, so my Instagram is just integrative oasis. So it's like integrative medicine and oasis, like the oasis of the desert. So that's my brand, that's my company. So, you can just send me a DM or you can go on my website, integrativeoasis.com, and you can usually book a just discovery call and my team will kind of schedule you in. Obviously, I work with people one-on-one, and then also I've been an educator in the peptide world, and I'm doing some work there, and I'm going to be branching that out a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Cool. Thank you so much for guiding me through this process. I feel like I'll probably do another episode after having maybe spent a couple weeks or months
Yeah.
on my protocol so I can actually share what the benefits have been for me. Maybe we could chat again or something, but I'm super excited to have done my first BPC 157 TB 500. Yeah, thank you. We'll see how it
Amazing, man.
goes.
This was so awesome. This was so fun.
Awesome.